Hey guys, Marissa at KitchenTableStamper.com. It's time for the final video in the Ringed with Nature Stamp-A-Stack series. We're going to make this Thinking of You card. I know I said that the second card in the series was my favorite, but this one might be my favorite. All right, if you missed the first card in the series, we did this Get Well Soon, the beautiful branches. In the second card, this one might be my favorite card, but the one we're doing today might be my favorite card. Thinking of You with the mushrooms. And then we've got the third card in the series, Happy Anniversary. These are all linked together, and there is optional Ringed with Nature Stamp-A-Stack class packets available while supplies last. Now these packets have a Ringed with Love designer series paper in it. So there's a quarter of a package. It was a celebration. So there's a limited number of these packets that we could produce. If you're interested in getting one, makes 2 each of the 4 cards I just showed you, plus extra Ringed with Nature designer series paper and Gingham Cottage designer series paper. There's plenty of embellishments. Your cards are cut and scored for you. There's envelopes for each of those cards. We do the basic die cutting for you. There's the Gingham Cottage designer series paper. We don't do any of the die cutting from the featured bundle. Our featured bundle is the Ringed with Nature bundle. You can get the photopolymer stamp set, a hybrid embossing folder with dies bundled together, and save 10% on these items. Let's get started with this one. The first thing we're gonna do is emboss our card front. We're gonna go through the stages of how this folder and dies work together. And we want to emboss the card front. I'm gonna take my soft suede card, pop the front into the folder to get kind of a level, straight design. I'm going to line up the bottom of the card with a line along the Stampin' Up! Logo. Slide the card base through the machine. It's on number 1. We're going to add number 4. We're going to very carefully emboss the whole card front. So we want to make sure that our folder is not going to scrape on either side of the machine before carefully cranking. And there is the first use of this folder. That is the embossed design that it will do. Now let's do an emboss and cut. We want the 4 largest rings for our project here. So we are going to grab the die. We're going to pop this into the folder. And there's only one way that this is going to pop into the folder and fit rightly. And that's it. So it's on the side with the Stampin' Up! Logo, and it actually has little grooves and it fits. Now we want the 4 largest, so we're going to line up our soft suede cardstock to cover those 4 largest rings completely. This little one's not going to go entirely with a card front size like this, but that's okay, because for the 8 cards we're making, we need 2 each of the largest size. Now we've got our embossing folder and the die. We're going to run. Now this is going to give us embossed and die cut wood slices. So let's take this away. And now we have the 4 large wood slices. This is the bark portion. Now let's do the wood portion. For that, we're going to add the next layer of dies. And we've got these 4 largest tree rings, and we're going to just match up the characteristics, the identifying characteristics. So these little knobs, these little nodes that are inside. See these rounded features like this? We're going to find those and line up. And that's how we'll know that we've got the right die inside the right tree ring. And we just slide until it catches. It actually fits in a groove. All right, then our last one here. It's got a flat side right here. That's where I look for. This little flat side goes in the flat side right there. All right, and the more you do this puzzle, the faster you'll be at it too, I'll tell you that. Now this time we want these center pieces. So we're gonna line up our cardstock so that we can get all the pieces we're concerned with. Now you can also, if you just want one tree ring, you can cut a smaller scrap. If you want all of them in one pass, you can cut a little bit bigger piece. But we've got a 1/4 sheet of cardstock here, and that is going to be sufficient to do the 4 tree rings that we need. We're going to do that 2 times because we cut our paper in half in the first video. That'll give us the 8 wood slices that we need for our 8 cards in the Stampin' Stack. Now, I separated this and did it twice in the videos so that you would have the opportunity to see twice. But if you're doing this as a Stampin' Stack and you're doing all 8, then you want to do all these wood slices all at one time, assemble them, and do like batch work. All right, so let's go ahead and assemble these. I'm going to set this aside. Now we're going to match our insides with our outsides. I find that easier if I line them up size-wise. We get some liquid glue and find those same characteristics that we use to line up the dies, those little protrusions. We're going to line those up, then and kind of dry fit, then add adhesive and glue them down. Here's that little flat spot I was talking about. There's the flat spot. So you start to recognize these little details, these little features a lot quicker as you make more and more of these little slices. They're such good embellishments with anything. Think of all your little woodland animals, your little woodland botanicals, the mushrooms, the gnomes. These are fantastic with the gnomes. It's just a really awesome tool, this or set of tools, really. The embossing folder, the hybrid with the dies that work together. All right, let's bring our embossed card base back in here and our designer series paper. So the designer series paper, Gingham Cottage and Ringed with Love. This one is 1 1/4 by 4. This one, 2 by 4. Let's bring our sample back in here and we're going to adhere our designer series paper. I like to use liquid glue, gives me time to slide and a great hold. First our gingham, then our gorgeous floral. All right, we're gonna need our sentiment banner next. So let's get some ink pads and Stampin' Pierce mat. We're gonna do some stamping. If you get that class packet, we do the basic die cutting for you. So we've got from the Stylish Shapes here, the longest wide banner, and we cut that from basic white. We're gonna stamp that with Night of Navy. We have Night of Navy, Mint Macaron, Poppy Parade, and Soft Suede. Got Thinking of You, and we're gonna stamp this on the banner all the way to the left. And then in your kit, you also have some white cardstock. I'm down to scraps now after making so many of these cards, but we're gonna make a couple of hearts. And we'll fussy cut those. And our house is Mint Macaron. And the roof is Soft Suede. I like to line this up. House first. It's easier for me to get the roof on straight. And then I line up the roof so I can't see any space between the roof and the house. But usually I get a pretty good, pretty even little line there between the house and the roof. It lines up pretty easy that way. Let's clear away these ink pads and we're going to fussy cut our bits here. All right, when I fussy cut, I like to leave a little white border. I did for my hearts and I'm doing for my house too. It's a very simple little bit of cutting here. And then we're going to do some die cutting with the gorgeous die set. that comes with the Ringed with Nature bundle. Such a good die set. And we're gonna have so much fun doing this watercolor effect. So look at this awesome watercolor sprig and leaves. Isn't that just so beautiful? It matches the watercolor style of the paper so well. I love this die set because you can cut out of solid color cardstocks and kind of layer them and get a bold effect. But you can also do like we're doing in this class and cut these sprigs from basic white cardstock, and then we're going to color them with Stampin' blends to get that gorgeous effect. We need 2 of the branch and 1 of the sprig, and I've already done 1 of the branch ahead of time. So if you're looking at the chart, the branch, that should be F, and we did this little chart that I'll include in the project sheets or in the blog post, where we lettered each of the dies and then did a little chart how many you'll need for the 8 cards in the Stampin' stack. So hopefully that's helpful to you. And then you can do all of your die cutting at one time instead of each sprig for each card. All right. This little berry branch is my favorite die in the collection, especially when you get your Stampin' blends out and color it. We did the red berries. Today we're going to do that. And then yesterday we did blueberries on our sprigs. And look at how different they look. But either way, they're so gorgeous. It's just an awesome die set, and this technique is going to really bring it to life. So we've got our branch and our sprig. They're stuck in the dies. That happens, especially a die set like this. I use so much. I'm gonna just use a little low tack tape, and oh, my tape's getting even too low tack for that. It's just washi tape from a Valentine project that I'm done with. So we're gonna just pop this little die right on the tape, and then we can pull that right out. We're going to do the same thing with the other branch. And now let's get some Stampin' blends, protect our work surface, and color these sprigs. All right, I like to use my mini grid paper. I've done 1 of my branches ahead of time. My branch is Parakeet Party, and we're gonna do Parakeet Party light over the entire branch this time. It's gonna be a young spring, tender stalk. No woody branch for this one, just green and leafy. So I did the whole sprig. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go down the underside of all the leaves with the dark. And then I'm going to go down the left side of the branch also. I'll take my light Parakeet Party and just swipe together where the light and the dark touch. And that's it. Now we got a young spring sprig. Let's do our leaves on our berry sprig now. Well, we've got the Parakeet Party in hand. Oh, we've got the Parakeet Party in hand. That sounds like the Parakeet Party got too wild and got out of hand. All right, there's our leaves. Our branch is going to be soft suede like you've seen me do. Berries are going to be Poppy Parade. So let's grab our soft suede. I like to do the light one with the brush and the dark one with the bullet. In this close quarters, can kind of swipe over this full coverage areas with the light brush point or brush tip, and then we can get in these close quarters for the dark with the bullet and just add a nice little shadow along your branches. And you can blend with either side here. I'm gonna go back with my bullet. I have more control because I have such a heavy hand with the bullet point. So I'm gonna do the bullet here and just blend together the light and dark and get all the little stem colored. Our berries, I'm gonna do the bullet point and color the berries with a nice saturated coat of light Poppy Parade. Just really get them bright and shiny poppy. Then I'll go back with the dark Poppy Parade and just swoop kind of like a crescent, a C at the at where the berry meets the stem. And there is a gorgeous sprig of red berries with a watercolor style that's just so beautiful. So different. Well, at least different for what I usually do. All right, bring in our card and our embellishments. Let's do our ribbon treatment for the last time in this series. You're gonna need about 7 inches, give or take, of this gorgeous early espresso suede ribbon. It's gonna go across the card front there. We don't want to waste any. This is very different ribbon. It's an interesting ribbon. It's a thick ribbon. It's a faux suede, so it's got a lot of bulk to it. Not the best ribbon for bows because of its thickness, but for a treatment like this where you're doing kind of a swoop of ribbon, it's awesome, and the texture is amazing. It's an expensive ribbon, so be careful. Use your ribbon carefully so that you don't have big tails that you're cutting off in the end because you've made it too long. This is not the ribbon that you want to be throwing away 1 inch off of each end and times 8 cards, and you're throwing away, you know, a foot of ribbon that way. Make sure you're kind of accurate in your estimation with this ribbon, and you'll be glad that you did, because then you'll have more ribbon to go further on more projects. All right, so you'll see it's not quite as long as the designer series paper, and I do leave a little bit of excess because once we get this linen thread bow tied, we've cinched this up, we might not need to correct the angles or clean off any frayed edges, but you only want to leave just a tiny bit for that. There's our ribbon treatment. I'm gonna get some liquid glue and we'll adhere our thinking of you. That's gonna go down first because it'll dictate the placement of our ribbon. It goes down lower than center of the banner, not quite as long as the designer series paper. Now for my suede ribbon here, I'm gonna add a strip of tear and tape adhesive. You can use a couple of mini glue dots along the way for this, whatever makes you happy. But I'm gonna do right along the top edge of my greeting here, and then remove that liner. Then we can put the cinched little loop in the end and adhere to the tape. Now we can take a look at the angle of our tails and the length of our tails, and we're going to adjust the tiniest little bit. We'll clean this one up, clean this one up, and then that's all the waist. So I'm always trying to give you ideas and ways to make the most of your ribbon embellishments. It's one of the most expensive things that we use on cards. All right, we've got 2 gorgeous hearts and a house, and then our beautiful sprigs. We're gonna do the same thing we've done with the sprigs throughout the project. We're going to do some liquid glue at the base of the sprig and some bits of dimensional at the ends of the sprig. Our house is going to go up on dimensionals, and same with our hearts. I'm going to do a half a dimensional each on these guys, and we'll get everything sticky. Got the little wood slice. That's our next step. Nice generous portion or bit of liquid glue. If you want to use a little tear and tape or some Stampin' Seal Plus here, it's a good place to get that really strong adhesive because we're going over the ribbon and over all that texture. Can add the little house right above thinking of you. Now our branches, a little bit of liquid glue at the base. I'm going to put enough there so that the other branch can share. I'm going to tuck this one right underneath our house. And this one underneath our house going the other way. I just love these. They're so pretty. Little dab on the stem for the berry sprig and pop that on. Don't cover your greeting. Uh-oh. My hearts were sticky. Always watch that. If you've got sticky dimensionals and you can't find your piece, the first place you look is your sleeve. We're going to add the 2 hearts and reinforce our sprigs with some dimensionals like you've seen me doing. I like to cut off those skinny little edges and then cut a few bits, maybe 3 here. Add the little bits right behind the leaves. So now we've got 2 level adhesive. It's down flat at the base, but as you get to the end of the branch, it lifts and it's double secure. A little bit behind the leaves where the berries are. Uh-oh. There we go. My release paper got stuck underneath there. Looked kind of crazy. And then one up under here on this leaf. Now it's got that hold, that double hold, that extra hold. It's got the liquid glue at the base and a little dimensional all the way out at the end. Just fluff our bow a bit. Now it's time for my favorite part. I don't know about you guys, but the double embellishment, the double whammy we got going on in this class just thrills me. I love the textures that the iridescent gems and the brass butterflies bring to these projects. The iridescent gems throw fire. The butterflies have a kind of brushed metallic finish, just gorgeous. And on top of that, I've been putting 5 of these gems on each card. So we're really not being stingy with the bling. I'm gonna do 3 going down this way, 1 of each size, small, medium, large. And then going up from here, I'm gonna do, oh, somebody got really crazy with this one. We've got a medium and 2 small ones, which is 6, which is kind of a weird number, but I'm going for it. I must have just been kind of embellishment happy at the end of the design of this series. I just love this card. This one might be my favorite, but the mushrooms might be my favorite. Who knows? All right, you guys, you did it. That's it. That was the Ringed with Nature Stamp-A-Stack. If you have any questions about the class packet or about the project, email marissa@kitchentablestamper.com. To see if there are packets still available, you can buzz over to kitchentablestamper.com/shop, and then in the right-hand menu, filter for class packets, and they'll be there if we still have any left. There is a limited nature to these because of the Celebration Designer Series paper. Can't get any more of that. To shop Stampin' Up! 24/7, buzz over there and grab your Ringed with Nature bundle and get the 3 pieces together. Save 10%. marissaelvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.